Jersey. He works with Contact in the Desert. He's one of the media people. He's the leader of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. He's been a Hollywood publicist in the past for the likes of Jay Leno. He's an author of multiple books. We're going to get into that a lot today. He's also an experiencer. Dan Harari, how are you doing today? And how's the weather there in Los Angeles?
Hello, thank you for having me back. It's always fun to talk to you. The last 2 days, it's been absolutely beautiful here. Finally, summer has finally arrived in LA. This whole year, it's been cloudy, windy, chilly, rainy, and the last 2 days, and actually tomorrow's my birthday, so I think the weather got
Oh,
got nice just for my birthday.
happy birthday to you.
Thank you, thank you. And then yesterday was Father's Day, and I spent that with my daughter. So, yeah, the weather just finally got nice.
Do you just have the one kid?
My daughter lives near me. I live in Beverly Hills. She lives about 3 miles south of me. It's called Pico Robertson. I see her all the time. She's 35. And my son is 37. And my son lives in Anchorage, Alaska. He runs the
Wow.
IT department for a huge oil drilling company. And Devin, he's one of those computer geniuses, like that show Big Bang Theory. Like my
Yeah.
son is like he's one of those kids. He makes far more money than I've ever made, and he works up at the North Pole. He works at a huge complex at the North Pole, 3 weeks, 7 days a week, 3 weeks at a time, and then he has 3 weeks off paid to travel around the world. So he has a very interesting life, my son.
Did either of them go to the famous Beverly Hills High School?
No, no. When they were growing up, I was divorced, and my ex-wife and my kids lived in Valencia, which is about an hour due north of LA, and it's near Magic Mountain Theme Park, which is pretty famous theme park. So,
Yeah.
so,
You hear
so you
about it
have
in movies. I can't
yeah,
remember
Magic.
specifically what movies, but
Yeah. So you have no idea how many how many times I've been to Magic Mountain, and I'm not
wow.
a roller coaster kid person. And my kids would go, "Daddy, Daddy, come on, roller coaster!" No, no. And they would force me, man. And I get vertigo when I'm on a roller coaster. I hate roller coaster. So they did not go to Beverly Hills High School. I'm glad they didn't because not to be cruel, but a lot of the people that went there are exceptionally wealthy, and their parents are many of them are very, very well known or famous, and they don't always grow up. When you grow up in Beverly Hills, you don't always have the reality check on life because you're very wealthy and you're very famous, or you know people that are famous. My kids and my ex-wife, they had pretty normal lives growing up. I'm grateful for my ex-wife that she was she was a normal person. I'm a Hollywood guy, but my ex-wife was a normal person. So my kids had a very good foundation growing up.
What's it like living in Beverly Hills for us Canadians or people from other places that have only seen it in the movies and stuff?
Well, how could I answer that question? I've had my own PR firm for it's almost 30 years now. So I've been very, very fortunate. I've made a very good living. For the last 30 years, I've been my own boss. My company's called Asbury PR Agency. I grew up in Asbury Park, New Jersey. But I moved to Beverly Hills. Well, I've been living in LA, Devin, since 1980. So I've been living in LA for 45 years. I came out when I was 24. I moved to LA to Beverly Hills in 2003 with a girlfriend. The reason we moved to Beverly Hills is because I'll tell you why really. It's centrally located within 45 minutes of Beverly Hills. You can get to the ocean, you can get to the valley, you can get to downtown, or you could get to Orange County or like a little south of LAX. It's centrally located 45 minutes in any direction. You can get anywhere else in LA. That's the biggest reason I chose to live here. I'm not a millionaire. I live in the normal section of Beverly Hills. It's quite beautiful. I walk my dog. There's palm trees and lovely homes everywhere. The very wealthy people live north of Wilshire. I live south of Wilshire, so it's a lovely place. I can't complain, man. It's a beautiful place to live.
O.J. Simpson lived in that area, didn't he?
He lived in Brentwood,
Okay.
which is in between Beverly Hills and UCLA, the school UCLA. Brentwood is Marilyn Monroe lived in Brentwood. Brentwood is also very, very beautiful. Holmby Hills is where Hugh Hefner's Playboy Mansion was. I used to work at the Playboy Channel. I used to go to the
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
Playboy
that. Let's
Mansion.
jump into that.
Well, the
Tell us
funny
about
thing,
that.
the funny part about that, Devin, is I just gotten married. So I worked at the Playboy Channel in 1983, 84, 85. I was the first publicist ever for the Playboy TV channel. Well, of course, with my timing in life, I had just gotten married. And for 2.5 years, I'm surrounded literally, and I'm not even making this up, by naked girls, because I did photo shoots with these naked girls or girls wearing very, very skimpy clothing to illustrate the various TV shows that were on the Playboy channel. I was in charge of creating the photographs for the channel. So I'd be with Miss May and Miss June and Miss July, and they're topless or bikinis, or we're out at the beach. We're shooting, gorgeous, beautiful girls. And then I go home to my wife, and she's yelling at me because I was flirting with other girls. What could I do, man? That was my job. So my timing could not have been worse. But it was for a straight man, it was probably the greatest job you could ever have on the planet. I didn't make any money there, but it was a lot of fun, I got to tell you.
Were you propositioned much by the ladies there? Because, I mean, I'm sure as a photographer, they'd want to suck up to you, and maybe some of them would think that being extra friendly to you would help get them further, or did they know you were one of the lower guys on the totem pole?
I was a publicist, but I hired the photographers to shoot them. So I would hire photographers, I would hire the models, and quite often I would drive them in my car to the photo studio. And then I would pose them and give them the premise of what the photos, no one, I had no, I had bosses there, but I was so unique in the company. No one knew. I call myself Hugh Hefner Jr. No one gave me instructions, man. For 2.5 years, I did whatever I wanted to do at that job. One playmate outright. It's so funny. I had just gotten married, and this beautiful girl, she's dead now. She leaned across my desk with beautiful breasts, and she just squished them onto my desk, and she stared at me. And there was a picture of my wife behind me. And she goes, "Who's that?" I go, "Well, that's my wife. I just got married." She goes, "Oh, that's really too bad. That's really too bad." Devin, I'm like, oh man, so close, so painfully close.
And you mentioned in our last interview, I think that at one point you were a sex addict. So, I mean, I could only imagine
I was
working
just,
there.
well, uh, I became a sex addict after my divorce, really. I was with my wife 11 years, 82 to 93. And then after I got divorced, she had the kids, and I was starting to make some money. I'm like, woohoo. So yeah, it got out of control. Being a sex addict is not all fun and games. There's a lot of negativity that goes with it. I wrote a book called Carrots, which is about my sex addiction. But yeah, for about 25 years, I got out of control. When you're making a lot of money and you work in Hollywood and you don't have your kids until on the weekends, you have 5 nights a week to do what you want. It was a bad combination for me, and I don't suggest becoming a sex addict to anyone. It's not a lot. It's not as
Yeah.
fun as you think it might be.
I would think you would already be one no matter what. It's just a matter of how you could control it.
Um, again, Devin, after my divorce, I felt very, very guilty that my marriage ended. And I was starting to make real money, and I lived in Beverly Hills, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to see what's out there. And I was always chasing the models and the actresses and the most beautiful girls, and most of them just spit on me. They couldn't care less. So many beautiful women out here. It's, what can you do for me? Can you get me in a movie? Can you get me on a TV show? Can you do my publicity for free? Several beautiful women really used me for my connections. In retrospect, if I had met a nice Jewish girl along the way, I probably would have been remarried by now.
And what is a sex addict? Is someone that like just needs to quote unquote like relieve themselves often, or is it just always on your mind, or do you need to actually do it all the time?
It's not even, in my opinion, it's not so much the physical need, it's a mental, emotional need. I grew up, and my mother's still alive, and I love my mother, but my mother was a narcissistic woman. My two younger brothers and I, we all became sex addicts. My mother was not a warm, loving, hugging, kissing, loving mommy. She was a do your homework, get your hair cut, buy me, groceries, go to the store, pick up some bread. She was very perfunctory. So we didn't have the warm, loving mommy love as kids. So it's really an emotional need. For me, it was like, for these women, love me, accept me, have sex with me, sleep with me. It wasn't so much the physical; it was more a mental and emotional need. But anyway, we're so off topic, brother. I don't want to
Do I
blow the whole
dare
hour.
ask your numbers?
105. I lost
Oh
count
wow.
after 105. I have a list somewhere. I
Wow.
wrote them, in fact, the last thing I'll say is I had from A to Z. There was only a couple of letters like X, Q. There's only a few letters. I didn't have at least one woman for that name. But 105, I have friends who've done more than that. So, but I was married 11 years to keep that in mind.
Well, I can only imagine you must have friends in Hollywood that could beat those numbers. Who would be like the biggest ladies man in Hollywood that you have direct knowledge, maybe not from them, but from friends and friends of friends that would have
Well,
used their stardom to make use of that.
well, historically it would be Hugh Hefner, of course, Wilt Chamberlain, Gene Simmons of Kiss, Milton Berle. Milton Berle was an old comedian. He had an enormous penis. This is documented. He had an enormous penis. He would go up to women and say, "Do you want to see my enormous penis?" They'd say, "Yeah." He had Marilyn Monroe. He had everybody, man. But I'd say the three that come to mind would be Hefner, Will Chamberlain, and Gene Simmons. I think Gene Simmons has 10,000 plus or something.
Yeah, he said that, and somehow he's been overall faithful to his most recent.
Shannon Tweed. All right, well, let me tell you about Shannon Tweed.
Yeah,
He's
she's
with
from the
Shannon
same
Tweed.
town as I'm from, Ottawa.
When I worked at Playboy, Shannon Tweed, was dating Hugh Hefner. And I had an office at the top of the Playboy building in West Hollywood. And one day, Devin, I'm at my desk doing some work, and I hear, "Excuse me," and I look up, and Shannon Tweed is in my office. Now she was as beautiful a blonde as has ever lived on the planet Earth ever. So I looked up, I went, like I gasped. Right? She was so beautiful, I actually gasped. And she asked me where someone's office was, and I said, "Oh, it's down the hall to the left." And she turned and left, and she was just so remarkably beautiful that it actually took my breath away for a second.
Do you think that's the reason he finally settled down with her?
No, 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 no. I think by the time he married, I've met Gene Simmons several times. I worked with him when I was in high school, actually. Actually, I worked with him in high school. I worked with Kiss and Bruce Springsteen and Fleetwood Mac. I worked with a lot of bands when I was in high school. And then I did a press conference for Kiss in 2015, 10 years ago. And I saw Gene and Paul again, and they remembered me. Once you have 10,000 women, and he was getting older, he probably wanted to have kids and settle down and just have a place to go to. You pick one of the most beautiful blondes on the planet, you're probably going to say, "You know what? I've done it all. I've seen it all. This is as good as it's going to get for me." And they've been together probably 30 years by now, I think.
Is there anything about Hugh Hefner that might surprise us since you were working there quite regularly for a couple of years? Something that we would never imagine about him?
I think Hugh Hefner was a love. Have you ever heard of a love addict? There are sex addicts. There are love addicts. My middle brother is a love addict. Love addicts always want to be in love. That's why they go from one to the next to the next. And it's not for the sex act. It's to be in love with someone new over and over and over again. Uh, Hugh Hefner always said, he was madly in love with so many of his playmates and his girlfriends and his lovers. He only had two wives, but he probably had 10,000 lovers. But I think surprisingly would be Hugh Hefner was more of a love addict than a sex addict.
Yeah, I could maybe identify with that one a bit because, yeah, that's interesting. What is your most memorable moment from Hollywood, from that Hollywood scene?
Well, I've been working in Hollywood since I got off the plane in the fall of 1980, 45 years. I mean, I've had my first book is called Flirting with Fame. A Hollywood publicist recalls 50 years of celebrity close encounters. It's on Amazon. I have hundreds of stories. When I met Meryl Streep, I was so nervous I called her by the wrong name. I used to hang out with Jay Leno at the Tonight Show when he's in his underwear in his dressing room backstage at the Tonight Show. Um, I knew Jerry Seinfeld before he was famous. I introduced my mother once to Mel Brooks, and the three of us had a half-hour conversation about where they grew up in Brooklyn. I have countless stories, Devin. You'd have to read my book, Flirting with Fame, for me to answer that one.
Yeah, and you did mention on the last time I interviewed you, which I will put up at the end of this video for fans that watch this, that Jerry Seinfeld is less nice than Jay Leno. So that's worth going back, fans, and watching. If you search the Hannibal
Yeah,
TV,
that's an
and
understatement. Yeah. Jay Leno is as nice in real life as you would think. And Jerry is like, oh, I remember you. Like he's very judgmental. Yeah, Jerry is not. You know who's really lovely is Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I've met her 5 or 6 times. And Jason
she's
Alexander, George, he's very sweet too. I've met them several times.
they all kind of fell off the radar, other than Jerry.
Um, Julia had breast cancer a few years ago. I mean, she had
Yeah.
Veep. Veep is probably a funnier show than Seinfeld if you've watched
Uh,
Veep. Veep
I
is
never even
really
heard of it. I'm
uh,
stuck in the wrestling and UFO bubbles.
Devin, Veep, Veep. She plays the vice president of the United States. She parodies how screwed up Washington, D.C. is. And her whole goal in life is to become the president. And then she finally becomes the president in like season 4, season 5. And everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. It's very, very funny. I would say Veep is funnier than Seinfeld.
Well, for flirting with fame, and you don't have to tell this story, but what is the one story from flirting with fame that you wish more people knew about?
Oh, boy. Okay. I worked with Bruce Springsteen in 1973. I was 16 years old. My best friend and I ran the lights and the stage crew for a concert hall in Asbury Park, New Jersey called the Sunshine Inn. Bruce Springsteen used to play there. In 1973, Clarence Clemens, who played sax for Bruce, asked me and my friend Steve if we wanted to go on the road with Bruce Springsteen and be their road crew. To which I replied, Clarence, we're 16 years old. We don't drive cars. And I'm pretty sure our fathers want us to go to college. So he looked at me, he looked at my friend Steve, he shook his head, okay. And then a couple of years later, Bruce Springsteen was the biggest star on planet Earth. So my friend Steve and I, we turned down Bruce Springsteen. I mean, I guess that's a pretty good one.
Wow. Well, he was a local, so you
For
probably
years,
would.
yeah,
Yeah.
we saw him for years and years. He was a local bar band in Asbury Park. His first album is called Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. He said that's what we knew Bruce, early 70s.
Do you know the most famous wrestler from Asbury Park? Just out of curiosity, if he's
Uh,
famous.
no, I'm sorry, I never fought.
Interesting. Just
Gorgeous,
so you know, no, it was a guy
gorgeous.
named Bam Bigelow.
Okay, I
He's
was going to
dead
say
now.
gorgeous. Was it Gorgeous George? Did you ever hear of Gorgeous
Oh
George?
yeah, yeah. He was an amazing he transcended wrestling.
Yeah, he's the only. Forgive me, I'm not up on your sport. I'm really sorry, man.
It's quite fine. I don't blame you. Well, you do know The Rock.
Sure.
Yeah.
When my son was little, he and his best friend, they used to pretend that they were The Rock, and they used to wrestle and beat the ass out of each other. So yeah, I remember that.
And I'm just curious, everything's changed so much now. How has it changed being a publicist from, let's say, the 80s to now? Because it's easier and harder in some ways, I would imagine.
Oh, well, I'm a dinosaur, man. I've been in publicity since 1980. I've been in Hollywood PR since 1980. So what is that? 45 years. My field is entirely different now. Why? In the old days, there were only a handful of TV stations that, that really mattered. There was a handful of magazines that mattered. The top cities had the top one or two newspapers that mattered. And there was no digital, there was no internet, there were no websites. So to publicize something, you would call journalists on the phone. People don't use the phone anymore except for texting. Well, my day, you called them on the phone. You call the New York Times to find a journalist. You say, "Hi, I have an article. I'm representing Jay Leno. He just got the Tonight Show. Would you like to interview Jay Leno?" "Yeah, sure. That sounds good." It was very personable. It was a lot of telephone work. You had lunch with journalists. You had drinks with journalists. They knew you. You know them. Even if you pitched them a client or a story, even if they said no, they would say, "No, not for me, but call me again when you have another story idea, Dan." So there was very personable. The media universe was much, much smaller, and there was no digital anything. Today, there's 10, 100 million, zillion websites. Social media, the people who are publicists now tend to be 22, 23-year-old women right out of college. PR is a very popular profession for young women. I've met many of them. I've mentored some of them. But now, Devin, they think that PR is, you post something on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and you do a video on TikTok, and you go home and eat lunch. That's not in my day, man. My day, you had to beg and plead and to get someone on CNN or the New York Times or People Magazine or USA Today. You did press conferences. You orchestrated the lighting and the sound and the catering and the music and the red carpets. And now everything is digital, social. It's a lost art. What I have done for 45 years is a lost art. I'm a dinosaur. I turn 69 tomorrow. The younger generation doesn't know
The best
what
year for a sex addict.
Yeah, right. I know. And I knew you were going to say that too. Actually, one of my best friends turned 70 yesterday. She had a beautiful party in Hollywood. She had a really lovely party. And she used to be a Playboy bunny. It's so funny. I was at
Oh,
her house
wow.
yesterday. So I'm going to be 70 next year, but we should talk about UFOs, I think.
Yes, I'm
This
sorry.
weekend we're going the other way right now.
Yeah, I was just looking at your After the Game book behind you there.
After they
Could you
came,
tell
after
us a
they
little
came,
bit about After They Came? Yes.
after they came.
Oh my
Okay, so
gosh. I thought we were supposed to change the subject.
no, you did after the. Well, okay. So
Okay.
you're not the first person that's made that joke.
Well, let's get into it because in previous, maybe we'll give like a little synopsis because in our previous interview we talked about your father getting you into the whole UFO field
Indirectly,
and,
yeah,
and making you a
indirectly,
believer.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
give us a synopsis of your history in the subject.
Okay, thank you very absolutely. I will. So, my book is called After They Came. It's not a sex book. It's a sci-fi novel inspired by true events. This book was published 2 years ago, but and Devin, thank you for this opportunity. My book just came out on audiobook. After They Came just came out on audiobook a few days ago. So if you go to Amazon, After They Came, Dan Harari, check out the audiobook, and I'll tell you why. It took me a year and 4 months to record this dopey book on audio. It was a very big project for me. It took forever, because I had a really great sound engineer in Hollywood and I could only get him when he had free time. So it took a year and 4 months to record. The story is two benevolent, beautiful, tall, white aliens come to Earth to save mankind. Yeah, there you go. Audiobook, 99 cents. There, how can you go wrong? Two benevolent aliens come to Earth from the Pleiades. They're 7 feet tall, male, female. They come to Earth to save mankind, solve all of mankind's problems. In so doing, on page 1, they save a man who just turned 70 and he's killing himself. He's drowning himself in the Pacific Ocean on his 70th birthday. Why? He hates his life. Everything went wrong. His business failed. His children don't speak to him. He's unlucky in love. He's bankrupt, and he's just miserable. His mother's in a coma. His father died. He hates his life. So he's drowning on page 1, the lead character. These aliens come, beam him on board a huge ship. They present him at Dodger Stadium to the world. And they say, people of Earth, we're here because we love human beings. We love mankind. We are here to save you, solve all of your problems. We just saved the life of this drowning man. Bring him your problems, people of Earth. We have a relationship with this guy. Bring him your problems. We will work with him, and through him and him alone, we will solve all of your problems. So then these beautiful aliens go up on the ship and they vanish. And now this schmucky guy who was killing himself, he's suddenly the center of the world's attention. His name is Jonathan Michael Tuckerman. In the movie, he will be Steve Carell. I am pitching it as a movie. I am pitching it as a TV series as we speak. So imagine Steve Carell, the schmucky guy killing himself, gets saved by aliens, and suddenly Steve Carell is, they call him the hero of Earth. He works with the aliens for years. They solve all of mankind's problems. And he meets the woman of his dreams. He gets married. He becomes a millionaire. He's reunited with his children and his mother. But he finds out from the aliens that his dead father was a UFO researcher. And he finds that out. He never knew that. Now, why is that important? As Devin mentioned, in 1970, in real life, in March 1970, I was 13 years old. I was in my father's car. He was driving me home one day from school. I saw a huge UFO, V, letter V like Victor, hovering above my father's car as he drove me home. So I said, Dad, stop the car. Dad, stop the car. There's a UFO. He pulls off to the side of the road. My father and I get out. We're standing in front of the car. A huge silver V is hanging above my father's car silently. No noise, no smoke, no propellers, no noise. It's completely silent. And I was jumping up and down. I go, Dad, look, Dad, it's Star Trek. Dad, look, it's Star Trek. And my father looked at it with no interest, completely bored. He looked at it like he'd seen it 5 million times. I forgot that happened for 47 years. That event, I forgot that happened for 47 years. In 2017, my father died. 3 days after my father died, I went to a deli here in LA to get a pastrami sandwich. And as I was sitting there, and this is a God, I swear on my daughter, this is a true story. A beam of light hit me in the head, and through my eyes, in the air like this, like I'm looking at my screen right now, was projected the 1970 home video hologram of the 1970 UFO sighting I had with my father. It played in the air on an invisible screen. It played 47 years after it happened. And in this little movie, my father winked at me and then said, come on, kid, let's go home. I was in the movie, so it's not a memory or a point of view. It was a film that I was in. I've come to learn about the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records is a theory that God or the universe or whoever's in charge of us films everyone's life from birth to death. I believe that was a moment for my Akashic record. So after that happened, I was inspired to write my book, After They Came. And after I wrote the book, it got published 2 years ago. I became friends with Steve Bassett. Stephen Bassett is a disclosure advocate, 30-year disclosure advocate in Washington, D.C. He and I became friends, And together we created, and I'll move this away here for a second.
Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. That
There
one
we go.
day, hopefully, you'll let me in.
Oh, all you need to do is email me your bio and your photo, man. You're in. So Stephen and I created the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance 2
There's
years
no
ago.
big ritual to join.
Well, we ask for $150 per person as a donation. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. It's nice when people donate because we do live events. We go to live trade shows and UFO conventions. We update our website and our socials. We have a lady that does that. I have to pay her. So no, but Hannibal, Devin, if you just send me your email, your bio, and your photo, and if you want to do the 150, you probably have 150, man. You could probably throw that to me.
I'm sure I can scrounge it up
You could do
somewhere.
that.
I like Stephen Bassett a lot. I have to ask you something about Stephen Bassett though,
Yes,
because maybe you can defend him a bit as his publicist.
I am the Stephen Bassett whisperer, literally.
Okay. Well, there have been some people lately, and he knows a lot. He's an inside information guy. Actually, his last interview with me got tens of thousands of views, but it was right in the whole drone thing in December.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
Perfect
Okay.
timing.
Okay.
But apparently he's said some stuff is going to happen on certain dates. Is this just Congress keeps changing stuff? Because he seems to have said certain things are going to happen and they've been pushed back or not happened. What response do you have
Okay.
for that?
Okay. Well, Stephen Bassett became the first ever Washington lobbyist in 1996 because he had volunteered for the John Mack Institute in the 90s. He realized if a genius like John Mack, a Harvard psychiatrist genius like John Mack, believed in extraterrestrials, that Stephen Bassett probably should believe in them too. So he became a lobbyist. For the last 29 years, Stephen has been I call him the godfather of disclosure. Stephen wants disclosure tomorrow. Now, to answer your question, there were some events, Devin, that were supposed to happen in June. A hearing, a private hearing in a SCIF, and then an open session with Congress. Both of those got pushed back because of scheduling delays or whatever. Stephen is based in Washington. Stephen's best friend is Danny Sheehan. If people know who Daniel Sheehan is, Danny Sheehan is the top civil rights attorney in America, if not in the world. Super famous, incredible genius. I'm proud to say I'm a friend of his and he's a friend of mine. Danny Sheehan and Steve Bassett have been working with Chuck Schumer and Tim Burchett and Marco Rubio before he became Secretary of State to make the congressional hearings, the UAP congressional hearings, happen the last few years. When Stephen says something, Devin, it's twofold. One, he's filled with hope. Okay, so it's a little naivete, but it's pure hope. He wants disclosure to happen in our lifetimes, and he wants it to happen tomorrow. But if he said anything recently about specific dates, they got moved. Two events in June, I know for sure, that got moved. Stephen's on the inside track. He has inside information about things that are going to happen in Congress. So I know him very well. I'd say he and I are probably best friends. If he says something, he means it. He is not a BS artist. Stephen is not a liar. If he says something, he means it. It's either half hopeful or half inside information that he has. But he gets a lot of ribbing because he's been he's really the boy who cried wolf for 29 years that disclosure is going to happen tomorrow. I personally don't think it's going to happen from a president, a king, or a pope, or a prime minister. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I have other friends, Ron James, award-winning MUFON filmmaker, Ron Janix, who owns Contact in the Desert. The three of us have spoken recently. We don't think it's going to happen that way. We think it's going to happen from we the people. We the people are disclosure. That's why my Hollywood Disclosure Alliance group is important. We are, I might as well say this. Today, June 16th, our documentary went online today. So anyone who's watching this, please go to J.Hollywood Horton, Horton, J. Horton Films on YouTube. J. Horton Films on YouTube. Today, our HDA documentary that I produced debuted. It's called Inside Hollywood, Aliens, UFOs, and the Quest for Disclosure. It's a brand new documentary. It just debuted today. Please check it out. We're trying to sell it to Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and those others. But the producers, I'm the producer, and then the director is Jay Horton and Jeremy Norrie. They put it up today on their website. So the more views we get, the better chance we have to sell it. But in that documentary, Stephen is there, Danny Sheehan, Britt Elders, Jimmy Church, Ron James, Ron Janix, Thomas Jane, the movie star, myself. A lot of people are in there talking about historically how Hollywood has treated the UFO phenomenon, and more importantly, what Hollywood can do to help move the disclosure movement forward. So if you're interested in that, Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.org, Hollywood Disclosure Alliance.org. Check out our website. There you go. And it tells you how to join, who we are, what we do. And we have about 210 members now. And Devin, you're going to be our next member.
There you go. And is there and I'll be honored to be a member of that with you guys. Where is the link for the movie on this page?
You know what? You're a genius and I'm a moron. It should be up there. It should be up there. You gotta go. Yeah,
I do not have my. Oh, it's not on there yet. Okay,
it's not on there yet. It's on. Yeah, I'll have to.
Let me type in the. Is there a website that we could at least show the people, just so it's because a lot of people are visual.
Okay, if you could go in there now, go to YouTube. Just go to generic YouTube.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You know what? I absolutely should have done that this morning. I didn't think of it. Go to YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. Capital J. Period.
Okay. Everyone's doing this with me.
Horton, Horton.
Yeah.
J. Horton Films. Okay. Go to that site.
Okay.
J. Horton Films. You'll see Inside Hollywood, Aliens, UFOs, and the Quest for Disclosure.
There we go. Okay.
Click on that. That is the film. And it's free. We're making it free for a little while.
There you go. Oh, Bob Salas. But by the way, thank you for the interview with Bob Salas that I did last year. Man, that had huge hits. And he talked about his abduction experience on there, which not many people knew about. There's Stephen Bassett, for anyone that didn't know who Stephen is.
Yeah. Thank you very much, brother, for showing that. That's so cool that you're showing that. Bob Salas is the nicest man on the planet. I know him quite well. I interviewed him on my podcast last year. He's on our board of directors of Hollywood Disclosure. He was at Contact in the Desert last week, and I hung out with him and his wife, Marilyn. And Bob Salas is a hero. Stephen Bassett and Danny Sheehan are trying to get, and Devin, you know this, they're trying to get the nuclear witnesses to testify before Congress. Who are the nuclear witnesses? Bob Salas and two other men who were in the military in the 60s and 70s. They worked at ICBM nuclear missile launching sites. Three men, I forget the other two men's names, but Bob Salas is one of the three. While they were at nuclear missile testing sites, UFOs came, hovered over their installations, shut off their nuclear weapons, shut them off. In Bob Salas's case, they were shut off for like 12 hours. Bob went home, went to sleep, came back to the base the next day. He was told, you are never to talk about this as long as you live. Bob came out about, I think, 17 years ago. He said, you know what? Before I pass away, I need to share this information with the world. So Stephen Bassett and Danny Sheehan are trying to get Bob and the other two guys, the nuclear witnesses, to testify before Congress. Last week, these three men gave a panel lecture at Contact in the Desert. Now they're getting older. Bob Salas, I believe, is 83 or 84. And these men have incredible stories to tell. Now, last week, the Wall Street Journal did a huge article that says what Bob Salas claims is BS because it was a military operation with some kind of orange light, and the orange light from the military shut down the missiles. It wasn't an orange UFO, it was some kind of orange light. Bob Salas wrote an article, rebuttal to the Wall Street Journal, and said, what you wrote is pure fantasy and it's propaganda for the Department of Defense, and I'm telling you what really happened. On that note, in the middle of March, I launched something called thewowsignal.news. Everybody out there, check this out. Thewowsignal.news. Thewowsignal.news. It's a new ufology-based website that has news, press releases, breaking news, UAP photos, and guest columns. Every Monday, like today, we update our news. Every Thursday, we send our news out as a newsletter all around the world to about 700,000 emails that we have on our list. Bob Salas wrote an article today for the Wow Signal about his rebuttal to the Wall Street Journal. So check out thewowsignal.news. If you are watching this show and if you have news that concerns ufology, there it is.
This is it?
Yeah. Check out.
Post your press release. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So go down. All right. So the top piece there.
Hey, there
Devin,
you are with
Ross,
the News Nation guy.
Ross Coulthard. Yeah. This is today's brand new Wow Signal. Is that you're looking at? If you go down a little, the next.
I like this alien picture.
Isn't that great? That's the documentary that we were watching earlier.
Oh, that's the this is a great website. How was Contact in the Desert?
Contact in the Desert was terrific. All right, so here's what I was just saying. There's Bob Salas. Bob Salas wrote this article. If you want to read it, go to thewowsignal.news. Yeah, you can click read more. And he basically reamed out this 84-year-old man reamed out the Wall Street Journal.
He's fired up here. I can tell by the points, because when my dad friggin' gets fired up, we'll get 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, Bob, you don't screw with Bob Salas, man. The guy's he's a powerhouse. He really is. Contact, we had 2,300 people at a beautiful resort near Palm Springs. This was my third year in a row that I attended. My second year in a row, I was the head of public relations there. I hung out with Ross Coulthard. CNN did a piece on us while we were there. I presented Richard Dolan and a bunch of people. Incredible parties we had and dinners and drinks, and it was really lovely. I had a wonderful time there.
Any big bombshells or any big events that are noteworthy gossip wise? Since you can probably tell by now, I really am into that stuff.
Well, obviously, Stephen Bassett this whole year, Dan, when we're at Contact, disclosure is going to happen like, the week before. I go, Stephen, from your lips to God's ears, right? Disclosure is going to happen before Contact. It's going to happen. It didn't happen. A very interesting thing did happen. Do you know the name Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell with the telepathy tapes? Devin, are you familiar with the telepathy tapes?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
The telepathy
I haven't
tapes,
actually watched them, but I'm aware of the whole situation.
The telepathy tapes is a phenomenon. I think it's a 9-part, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9-part series on streaming in which Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, this genius psychiatrist, her office is down the hall from where John Mack used to be at Harvard. She studies highly autistic children who are nonverbal, but have the ability to read the minds of their parents through telepathy, and then have the ability to prove that telepathy is real. So they had a panel at Contact in the Desert called it's called psionics, the ability to have a telepathy with an extraterrestrial being or an extraterrestrial craft is called psionics, Psionics. It's a new term that came out fairly recently, a few months ago, earlier this year. Ross Coulthard from News Nation interviewed a gentleman named Jake Barber. If you check that out, it's a fascinating interview. Jake Barber was a military guy for years. He now has his own firm. His firm recovers, not necessarily crashed. His firm recovers UFOs that have landed on the ground. And I think he hinted that the CIA was his client. And he and his team go in a helicopter. They find the craft on the ground from an extraterrestrial craft, and they hook up cables to it, and then they cart it away so that the CIA can get it, and then the military can reverse engineer it. Jake Barber, told Ross on TV when he was extracting this craft that looked like a large white egg. He was in a helicopter. He got this overwhelming female sensation of love and kindness that was emanating from the craft into his body. And this guy, this big, muscular military guy, started crying. He started crying. He was overcome with emotion. That was called psionics. He had a telepathy, mental interaction with an extraterrestrial craft that made him cry. And when he said that, I related. I saw a UFO in 2008. That was this magnificent black craft. It hovered over me and 200 people at a field in Washington State, and a green light came on from this craft and bathed 200 of us in this beautiful green light. It went like light, 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 light. It was like Morse code, green light. We were all looking up. And as it went away, I felt in my heart, hello, we're here. We love you. We love mankind. Be kind to one another. Be kind to planet Earth. We have to go now. We just wanted to say hello. We'll see you another time. I got that message in my heart. That was psionics. And I cried. That was 2008. So I cried. So when Jake Barber said that a few months ago on TV, that he had a psionics moment, I had one as well in 2008. That stuff is real, man. I experienced it. It's real. If you have an experience with an extraterrestrial craft, if you're lucky enough, I've had 4, but that one was really quite remarkable. That was the most interactive because it was talking to us through light, green light in our hearts, not in our ears, not in our brain. I felt it in my heart. I still feel it in my heart. If you see a UFO and you're not scared to death, and I don't even recommend taking out your camera and trying to shoot it, because you know what? When you do that, you'll ruin the moment. It's a remarkable. I've had it done 4 times. It's a remarkable moment in your life. Look at it, think, wow.
Why are you so lucky? I wonder. Something to do with your dad, maybe?
My dad invented drones for the Army, and my dad, I'm 99.9% convinced that my dad helped to reverse engineer extraterrestrial craft. I could almost prove it. I have things in writing that could almost prove that. Devin, I think that I got lucky because my dad was involved with them or with their science or their tech. And I do. I consider myself blessed that I've had 4 experiences. Stephen Bassett, Stephen, Devin, he's never seen it. Stephen's never seen a UFO. I don't think Nick Pope's even seen a UFO. I was blessed to have these experiences. But my point is, forget about your camera and calling your friends. Look at the craft, take it in, send them a message from your brain. Say, hello, thank you for coming. I'd love to meet you. Thank you, for revealing yourself. See what happens. Because they're saying it's highly interactive, it's highly telepathic. And from this Jake Barber guy, got this female love, and I got this warm love. Hello, we're here, we love mankind. I got it in my heart, and I was crying for about an hour. I couldn't stop crying. It was such a wonderful moment in my life. So my advice is, if you have an experience, cherish it and enjoy it while it's happening.
Do you what race of aliens do you think it was that was seeing you? Do you think it was the same one every 4 times? Was it different? Do you have any idea? Did they give you any telepathic message?
Well, the first one I saw with my father in 1970, and then he died 47 years later, and I had that home movie from the deli. That was either my father sending me that from heaven or the extraterrestrials that were in that silver V sent me that little home movie 47 years later. I have to think it was benevolent. The most prominent benevolent race I'm aware of are the Pleiadians, they're called the tall whites. They're the 7 foot tall, white hair, pale skin, blue eyes, and they're from the Pleiades. Now, I have a friend named Mark Glenn Moore. In fact, Evan, you should interview him, man. He lives up in the Bay Area. He's had a relationship with the Pleiades for 60 years. Every few years they visit him and they take him on board and they teach him things. He said they're so beautiful. You look at them, you have tears in your eyes. He called them the light people. So I think that one was Pleiadians. The second one I saw was just a light that went across the sky, stopped in place for 30 seconds, and then went back across the sky. I think that was a military UFO that was being tested near Edwards Air Force Base. The third one with the green light, all I know, man, is when that thing passed us, I said to my girlfriend, I said, well, I guess we're not alone. I don't know what race they were, but they were benevolent because they told me, hello, we're here. We love you. We love mankind. We had been waiting for 3 nights. So it was the third night. They said, sorry, we're late. We know that you've been waiting for us. So I don't know, but they were certainly benevolent. Now, let me tell you about the last one. Last year at Contact, not last week, but last year at Contact, the last night, this is 2024, there was a CE5 event out on the lawn at the resort, 200 people looking up for hours and hours. After a few hours, and it was, if you don't know what a CE5 is, a CE5 is you hold hands, you're in a huge circle, you hold hands, you look up at the sky, and you say out loud, Space Brothers, we love you. Please show yourselves. We have open hearts and open minds. Please come and reveal yourselves. Please land. We'd like to meet you. We want to communicate with you. We love you. Please come. Please come. So this happened for 2.5 hours. At the end of that time, there was suddenly, and I swear to God, this is a true story, boom. There was a boom in the sky, a big cloud of dark gray cloud just smoke appeared above our heads, 200, 300 feet. Out of this smoke came a V, a white V craft, bright white V came out slowly out of this smoke. It was this color of vanilla ice cream, white, and it had like a gold ribbon of color through it. It reminded me of vanilla ice cream with like a caramel ribbon. And it came out. The bottom, Devin, of this craft, a V has 2 wings, right? Under each wing were three octopus suction pods that they were lit up, translucent, light brown with veins, and they were like this, boom, 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 boom. So 3 and 3, 6. And I saw this as clear as I'm looking at my computer, and I said out loud to the guy next to me, whatever that thing is, that's alive. It was a craft that had a living entity underneath it. It was part tech and part biologic. And I swear to you, I never saw anything like it. I never heard of anything like it. It was a UFO that was alive. I don't know what the hell. It looked like an octopus. So whatever race that is, you tell me. I don't know.
I've heard people say lately, though, that UFOs actually might be living things, which is hard to understand, but it's one of the new things that people are talking about.
Well, think about AI, right? I mean, AI, the software, AI is software, okay? But software is becoming alive. You know, you could tell AI, hey, write me a Beatles song. It'll write you a song better than the Beatles, and it'll be incredible. So I think if the extraterrestrials are 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000 years ahead of us, they've probably gotten to the point where their AI and their tech and their biology and their DNA, it just blended into one. But I'm telling you, as God is my witness, I saw a UFO That was a craft on the top, and it was an octopus on the bottom that was alive. So whatever that thing was, man, it was partially alive. I know it was. I saw it. And then it disappeared. It was there for 10, 12 seconds and then just vanished. Just vanished.
Very interesting. Well, if that's not the most compelling testimony you've come across through MUFON or the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, like what would have been the most compelling evidence you know of regarding UAP that the world should look into? Anyone watching this should look into if they're on the fence about it.
If you're on the fence about it, go to the ECETI Ranch. ECETI, ECETI Ranch. It's where I saw the black craft with the green light. It's a famous UFO hotspot. It's in Washington State, beautiful area, Washington State. It's at the base of Mount Adams. Mount Adams is one mountain down the range from Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier is where Kenneth Arnold in June 1947 saw 9 flying discs, and the term flying saucers was coined because of Kenneth Arnold. So at the base of Mount Adams, there's about 150 acres of nothing. It's weeds. This guy named James Gilliland is the owner of the ECETI Ranch. Go to the ECETI website, take a tour, spend a few nights there. You can camp out on the grounds or get a bed and breakfast nearby, is what my girlfriend and I did at the time. And you go and you look. It's a world-famous hotspot. NASA people go there, military people go there, government, scientists, people from all over the world have been going there for decades of time. Mount Adams used to be called the Mountain of Shining Lights by the Native American Indians who used to live on the property. In fact, when I was there, a guy next to me in his camera said, "Everyone look." And when he looked in his camera, he had taken a photo of Mount Adams, and a classic flying saucer, crystal clear, was right in front of Mount Adams. Now, I don't know if this guy was a BS artist and it was a phony picture in his camera, because I was looking at the same thing. I didn't see it myself. But when I saw it, I'm like, well, that's the greatest UFO photo I've ever seen in my life. Please send it to me. He never did. But regardless, this big black craft came. It blocked out the sky. It was enormous. And the green light with the message, that was the ECETI Ranch. Go to the ECETI Ranch. Try to have an experience there, because if you see something like I did, you'll know that we're not alone.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Do you want to tell us about your main 4 books that you want to talk about? And I think it's 5 now, before we close it off here, just so the fans know about all of them. And they're all available on Amazon.
Sure, that's very sweet, man. So I've written 5 books published in the last few years. After They Came is my baby. This is the one that I'm trying to get into a movie. This is my UFO Benevolent Aliens book. This book is dedicated to my father, because I know my father worked on extraterrestrial technology. He was a genius physicist for the Army, and he was never allowed to talk about his work. My father never told a soul what he did for a living, including my mother. He was not allowed to talk about it in his lifetime. That's why someone like Bob Salas, who's 84, he's a hero. He's coming out before his passing and saying, look, extraterrestrial craft are real. These things are real. So After They Came is my UFO book. My Hollywood book is called Flirting with Fame. Those are my funny stories about me and celebrities. My sex book is called Carrots. That's about my sex addiction, and my daughter always yells at me when I promote that one. I have another book called My Paranormal Life that came out last year. Those are my true stories from my whole life of my paranormal experiences I've had since the age of 5. My UFO experiences. My father was a ghost. He came to me several times after he died. My grandfather was once a poltergeist in my house 20 years ago and threw things around. I've had all kinds of incredible stories.
Did they scare you, or were you comfortable seeing them because you were aware that it was family?
I didn't know it was family till we did a Ouija board after 3 months of weird, scary things happening. And I told him, Devin, once I knew it was my grandfather, I said, Grandpa Joe, I love you, but you got to leave. You're scaring the S out of us. And then he left and he never came back again. It's not fun to live with a poltergeist, man, when things are flying around your house. No, it's not. It's not pleasant. Not at 3 a.m. when doors are slamming and glasses in the bathroom were lifted and smashed onto the floor. My grandfather was an angry poltergeist. So that's called my
What was the most
paranormal.
expensive thing he destroyed?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was he was slamming doors. He was scaring my son in the middle of the night. He was knocking on the walls, like with his knuckles, like knock, 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 and he's scaring my son. My son's 15. He's screaming. He moved things around. The best story, I guess I'll do this quickly. We had a fireplace in this apartment, and you know those long matchsticks, like decorative
Yes, I
matchsticks.
remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was living with a girlfriend at the time. We had a beautiful fireplace. I had just bought a case of 50 long decorative matchsticks for a fireplace. I pulled them all out of the tube all at once like a schmuck, and they all lit up. They all lit up, 50. So I'm holding a torch in my living room, a torch.
That is
And
cool.
there's a
really
fire
cool.
in my hand. Instead of one, I hid 50. And I swear to God, a dark gray mist came out of the den, flew through the living room, right at me. I saw it coming. It looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost without a face. It came, it grabbed this torch, Devin, I swear to God, out of my hand. It pulled it out of my hand and it threw the torch into the fireplace so my face wouldn't go up in flames. And then it disappeared into the wall. Now, I saw this. I said, well, whatever that was, man, thank you, because it saved my eyebrows and my mustache from catching on fire. That was my grandfather. That was my grandfather's ghost. I know it was.
So, do you think ghosts could actually harm or kill people? For the people to say, "Well, don't worry, a ghost can't do anything to you."
I felt this ghost pull, because I was so shocked by this torch in my hand. I was looking at it like, what have I done? And this thing, I pulled, like, grabbed this torch. I felt it, pull it out of my hand, and throw it. So it was a physical sensation. I felt it for a second. So I think either they could scare you to death. I think you could be scared to death. When my kids were little, they jumped out of a closet and scared me. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. I think you could be scared to death. And I know poltergeists can move things because my grandfather moved things and threw things. Can they kill you? Probably, I would think maybe yes. I would say maybe yes. And then my last book is Five. My last book came out last year called Five, Five-E. It's a supernatural tale of a man who gets reincarnated over and over again every 100 years throughout time. He starts out as a nice guy, and over the course of time, he becomes an insane serial killer, and he dies, and then every 100 years he gets resurrected. He's a nice guy, and then he becomes insane, and he's a serial killer over and over again. That's called Five. They're all on Amazon. Also, you could go to danharariauthor.com, danharariauthor.com. Check out HollywoodDisclosureAlliance.org. Check out the wowsignal.news. And Devin, thank you, man. I always love talking to you.
You're a very interesting fellow. And by the way, fans, I'll tell you guys this in my own podcast, but I have had some either ghost experiences or hallucinations this year that I will tell you guys about at some point. But Dan, a pleasure talking to you. I will join your Hollywood Disclosure Alliance and wrap us up here.
Okay. So we are Disclosure. Stephen Bassett wants President Trump to go on TV tonight and say, people of the world, we're not alone. Extraterrestrials are here. They've been here. We've known all about them since Roswell. Okay. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. We, the people, are Disclosure. I'm an experiencer. Many of our members in the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance are experiencers. Many are researchers. Many are authors. Many are documentary filmmakers. We collectively, Devin, myself, the people in my group, all of these lovely people who are sending in comments right here, we are Disclosure. Study the history of ufology. Go to UFO conferences. Watch Ancient Aliens. There's like 20 years of Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. Watch those. Write to Richard Dolan or Steve Bassett or Nick Pope or Paul Hynek, a friend of mine. His father was Dr. J. Allen Hynek, nothing serious. Reach out to these people. Reach out to the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. Tell us your stories. We are sharing stories with each other. We are sharing stories, hopefully with Hollywood writers and producers. My goal is to have the next era of feature films, TV shows, and documentaries based on the real experiences of real life people like you and me. So we are Disclosure. That's my wrap up there for the day.